Imagine asking for the keys to your ally's most feared weapon, a cruise missile that can fly 1,500 miles, skim the earth and hit the Kremlin itself. That, in essence, is what Volodymyr Zelenskyy has just done, and he did it not in a public forum, not in a public plea from Kyiv, but quietly behind closed doors with Donald Trump in New York. And now the request is leaking, and the timing is not accidental. The weapon is the Tomahawk, a precision long-range cruise missile, much more capable than the Storm Shadows or the ATACMS that Ukraine already has. Zelenskyy argued it could finally make Vladimir Putin negotiate seriously. If Moscow's own political heartland were vulnerable, perhaps Russia would consider peace. Surprisingly positive, Trump apparently responded. I don't know quite what he said, but Zelenskyy told Axios that Trump said, "We will work on it." Marco Rubio, Trump's Secretary of State, then privately urged European counterparts to treat this as positive as possible. When Zelenskyy presented a victory plan at the end of Biden's term, Washington said no. Fear of escalation was paramount. Moscow could be stuck, Russian defences might be bypassed, and NATO could be dragged into a direct clash. Trump has a more transactional view. He wants Europe to pay for US weapons, and he's angry at Putin for ignoring his self-styled peace overtures. He may see long-range missiles as leverage to force Putin to act, to deal, not just in military aid. And why the story leaks now? There were several overlapping motives explaining the sudden publicity. There's pressure on Trump. Leaking shows Trump is listening and potentially tough on Russia. It's useful for a president criticised as soft on Putin. It's a signal to Moscow. Publicising the ask warns the Kremlin that it continues to hit Ukrainian infrastructure, and Kyiv might soon have the means to respond in kind. And it shapes European opinion. Rubio's briefings and the Telegraph leak invite Europe to co-fund this plan. Making it public nudges allies towards acceptance. Zelenskyy's bargaining tactic, well, Ukraine has learned that quiet asks often die in committee. Tanks, HIMARS, F-16s all came only after public lobbying created political momentum. Russia is escalating its own deep strike campaign, energy grid attacks, drone incursions into NATO airspace, provocations over Denmark and Estonia. NATO responses have been hesitant. Zelenskyy recently mocked allies for being afraid to shoot down Russian drones. Trump is trying to recast himself as the deal maker who can end the war, but on terms that punish Putin for snubbing him. There is a risk here. Giving Ukraine Tomahawks would be a qualitative leap. From a military point of view, it could hit command centres, logistics hubs, or even the Kremlin itself. Russia might interpret strikes on Moscow as existential, potentially triggering wider war rhetoric or nuclear threats. And Trump would own any fallout, quite literally. European backers would share the cost and the blame. Trump faces criticism if he's too cosy with Putin or if he's too isolationist. A controlled leak of Trump considering Tomahawks makes him look tough, yet still in control of escalation, not really doing very much. It may also mollify Republican hawks who want Ukraine to win, but under America First fiscal terms, Europe paying the bill. For Kyiv, long-range strike parity is essential. Russia's war economy survives because its heartland is untouched. If the Kremlin must defend Moscow itself, Ukraine hopes Putin will rethink his maximalist war aims. Will Trump's White House formalize a European-funded Tomahawk package? How will Moscow respond to this signaling? More nuclear bluster or back-channel talks? Will European leaders, wary of escalation but eager for leverage, step up with cash and political cover? It's not just another weapons request, it's a chess move in an open game. Zelenskyy is gambling that by making this request public now, as Trump tries to prove relevance and strength, he can unlock the one capability that might truly threaten Putin's inner circle. Whether it works will shape the next phase of the war and perhaps the prospects of any peace.